We're back with the Screen Team giving you some movie reviews, and we've got one for you. And this is, what is this? Is this a remake? Is this a reboot? Is this a sequel? Guy, what's going on with this movie?
Technically, it's a sequel to the 2010 Predators movie.
Oh my goodness, you're confusing me already.
At least it's not Leatherface.
That's true. That's true.
The Leatherface timeline, I needed a flow chart. But no, it acknowledges the original two films and Predators. It completely overrides AVP, which thank God, because Requiem sucked. And we pick up after the events of Predators, and one of the ships crash lands here on Earth.
Okay.
Again. So rather than coming here to hunt this time, a predator is coming here to escape, being followed by another. Should we call him the Uber Predator?
The Super Predator?
Super Predator, that
Yeah.
sounds a little bit.
Okay.
We'll go with it.
Which, you're rude. You haven't even introduced our guest.
Well, I was getting there, but you were having a fine conversation. So, Guy, you brought a special guest, a new Screen Teamer to the fold to help review the new Predator movie. Who do you have with us?
This is my brother, Josh.
Josh, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Doing fantastic.
What's it like living with this guy over here? Or used to be like?
It's an experience, I'll say that.
So tell us about yourself. Are you a fan of movies like our friend Guy here?
Oh, we've stayed up many nights just for hours upon end. We can discuss movies for it's great.
Days.
And,
Days.
And are you a fan of the Predator series?
I loved it. It was one of the first rated R movies I ever remember seeing.
Yeah.
I've been a fan since I was 5 years old.
Yeah. So you liked Predator, the first one. What about Predator 2?
Predator 1 I loved. It had that 80s action and muscles and explosions you love.
Yeah.
The 90s when, went to that inner city gang war that was so big in the 90s. I don't know what to say about Predators. I mean...
It was as boring and monotonous as the aughts were.
Exactly. They're definitely movies for that era.
Right.
Every time.
But the thing I found funny with Predators is they tried to recapture the original without any of the dynamics, characters, likability, comedy, none of it.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
So what about this one? The new Predator film out in 2018. There was a lot of hope riding on this film because they want to keep this franchise going. They wanted to make lots and lots of money, and it hasn't done quite that. What did you guys think of this movie?
Well, for me personally, I think the critics are totally wrong.
Really? Because the critics have really
I know.
talked bad about this
They
film.
keep saying, oh, there's not supposed to be comedy. Did you watch the original? Everybody was spouting one-liners.
Right.
It was nothing but one-liners engulfed in steroids and 80s cheese.
How could you not love that?
I mean,
That's true.
It captured that same vibe, but had a more modern sensibility. This really feels like it's of this time. And like he said, each of the Predator movies kind of feels like the decade that they come out in.
Yeah.
So it really does feel like it's of this time, but it has that tongue-in-cheek sensibility, but it still acknowledges the original because it mentions that they came here in the 80s and then again in the 90s. And, they call them predators. We've never actually called them predators. The government shadow agency, the nefarious people who sit in black corners and make up things, like all governments are, actually were the ones who, created and classified them as predators, which is hilarious because when they explain their habits, the biologist says, that's not a predator, that's a hunter. And their response is, yeah, but predator sounds cool. Okay.
So what did you guys think about our team of, I don't know, mercenaries or whatever? In the first one, we've got Schwarzenegger, we've got Jesse Ventura, we've got, Yeah, we had our muscle, we had our our men in this one. What about this one? Do we have a group of guys who can face down the Predator?
We have mental patient army prison rejects.
Although now you're going to have to admit, you had Thomas Jane, you had Keegan-Michael Peele. That was a bromance of the year. I hear Celine Dion every time they're on screen together. It's great.
That's true. But however, Thomas Jane playing a guy with Tourette's, spouting some of the best lines that, because of radio, I cannot repeat.
True that.
They are some of the funniest ones. In fact, one of them came across to the point that me and Josh have said, we're going to now adopt that. And I can't repeat it.
We'll have to do that off mic to hear that for sure.
But it's great. And there is some tender moments. It's not just stereotype cookie cutter cutouts. Each of these characters have personality.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they get their funny stuff in, but each of them have legitimate personalities. I care about these characters. I go on the ride with these characters, which is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And it actually changes an idea. Because the idea was, we see the original version 1 Predator, he's supposed to come here and destroy these people. No. He was actually coming to help us defeat the uber predators that are coming.
Gotcha.
Because, spoilers, I'm reviewing it, there are going to be spoilers. Anyway, they've determined, and you find out why they hunt, why they take the skulls and spinal cords that they've always done, that the Predator's trophies are. The reason being is they tap the spinal fluid of the best prey, and they use it to augment themselves.
Really?
So you have a Predator with human DNA. You have a Predator, the Uber Predator has an exoskeleton which looks very oddly xenomorphish.
Ah.
Which you knew that was going to happen when you saw the xenomorph skull in Predator 2. But rather than being like 7.5 feet tall like most Predators are, this thing's like 12.
So what did you guys think about our Predator as far as look goes? Was it a guy in a costume like the old one was, or was this a CGI?
The Uber one was CGI for the wide shots, because they augmented his legs to walk with a backwards gait.
Cool.
And you can't do that unless you have a weird pitch on your body. It's hard to do that in a suit. So for the wide shots, it's CGI. But for the close-up shots from the waist up, it was practical. It was a guy in a suit, and it looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Now, that's great, but you have to admit, one thing that the movie lost that the other ones had was, for Predator 1, 2, even the third one, you got that sense of suspense, because you saw little bits of the Predator here, little bits of the Predator there. It never made a real big showing until the end. This one, 5 minutes in, here he is, and he is in camera every time. Him and his little pit bull dogs that
he's got dogs?
No.
Comes with pit bulls. Predator pit bulls.
That's the Uber Predator, and he doesn't come in till halfway through the film, and those are hellhounds, which were established in Predators.
Yeah, right.
The Gen 1 Predator, of course you're going to see him at the very beginning. Why wouldn't you? We know what he looks like. It's the same as if you're watching an Alien movie now, you have to see the alien. People come there to see the alien.
Sure.
You're going to have to show the alien. You can't tease it because there's no suspense. You know what he looks like. So why play that little cloak and dagger game? All you're going to do is make your audience mad.
I'll agree. By this time, you don't really need all that suspense to it. That's why they filled it up with so much comedy. And I was worried that it was going to really just
go off the rails,
but kind of like Thor Ragnarok did, the comedy just made it so much better.
Yeah,
you didn't really feel like you were missing anything. It was a fun ride the entire time.
So let me ask you something. You guys both seem to really enjoy this. We talked earlier that a lot of other critics didn't really like it. What do you think the disconnect is?
The disconnect is rose-colored nostalgia goggles. Because Predators was so deadly serious and was also so fingers on the chalkboard boring, they kind of feel like the original Predator was that way as well, But if they actually go back and watch it, they realize that this is more in line with the original.
Yeah.
It does have that, rather than being in a jungle, being tracked down, they're in a concrete jungle. It's very urbanesque. And you see where we have come in terms of dealing with them versus where they have come in terms of being a hunter. And it's a natural evolution.
Sure.
And honestly, the comedy, if you really think about it and put yourself in the situation of, if I'm in this situation where a 7-foot-tall alien with walrus tusks coming out of all parts of his mouth is coming after me, what am I going to do?
Sure.
I'm going to do one of two things. I am either going to crack a joke to calm myself down to grab my gun and shoot, or I'm going to sit there petrified and crap my pants.
It's true.
Those are your only two options. It's your fight or flight. And honestly, these are trained soldiers. Even though they are, now have mental issues or, they've had some problems and they're, they're still soldiers.
Yeah.
So they have their coping mechanisms to get around it. And a lot of them, and a lot of soldiers I know, and a lot of vets I know, when they're in a situation, they're going to crack a joke. And it's going to be an inappropriate joke. But it's what they use as a coping mechanism.
Right.
So it's completely in keeping in a natural tone with what these soldiers are.
Now, you guys have mentioned this a little bit as far as Shane Black. He wrote the first one. Mm-hmm. He directed this one, and you guys said there was some ties to the first one and this one. Did you guys notice a lot of Easter eggs and stuff in this film that brought you back to the original
A lot of
one?
dialogue Easter eggs.
Gotcha.
More than anything else. Like when the biologist first sees the predator having been revealed, she kind of takes a take on the Arnie line. Rather than you're one ugly MFer,
right?
You're one beautiful MF. And I'm like, if that's what does it for you. But it's a lot of dialogue-driven Easter eggs that are callbacks to certain areas. And he can even tell you, as we were sitting in the theater, there were a couple of them that I kind of groaned at because I was like, really? You're doing it just to put that, like, really? Really? It didn't take away my enjoyment, but it was one of those that if you've watched the Predator movies or are a huge fan and you know that they're throwing these Easter eggs in just to make the Predator fans happy, it makes you happy that it's there, but at the same time you're like, really? Do you have, really?
So is this a multiple watch for you guys? Do you guys have any desire to watch this movie again?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Seen it twice. I already loved it.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah. I haven't had a chance to see it a second time, but I am planning on watching it multiple times because I'm of the belief that we were laughing and enjoying ourselves so much that we didn't catch everything.
Sure.
So there's a distinct possibility I'm going to catch a lot more upon a second or third viewing.
Did it still come off as a little preachy to you on a couple parts?
Yeah.
They drove home the whole environmental, women's rights, special...
Yes, man.
needs.
Man is the evil person who will kill your puppy and rape your children if given the chance. Yes, it was that one.
It kind of beat you over the head with it a little bit.
Yeah.
Nothing horrible, but...
All right, the movie is called The Predator, 2018. It's a new addition to the Predator movie series, and of course, it was written and directed by Shane Black. Guys, thank you so much.
It was actually Hawkins in the original film.
It's true. Thank you, guys, man. Keep throwing that Easter eggs my way, man. I love it. All right, we got more reviews coming your way right here on the Screen Team.